Here we're going to have a little look at fractional indices. So what's important that you need to learn, you must memorise this, is that to the power of a half is the same as the square root. So for the square root of 36, what we need to find is what number do I times by itself that gives me 36. And the answer is 6, because 6 times 6 gives me 36. So to the power of a half is the same as square root. To the power of a third is the same as your cube root. So on the second question here, we've been asked to find the cube root of 64. Now cube root means what number do I times by itself 3 times that gives me 64. Now you might not know that straight away, and you might need to use a bit of a trial and error approach. So for example, let's try 3 to begin with. 3 times 3 gives me 9, times 3 again, that gives me 27. So that's too small, so we'll try a bigger number. So let's try 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Excellent, so I've got it. So the cube root of 64 is 4. On to these next questions then. Now remember, we've just learned what over 3 means, so what a third is. The first thing we need to be finding is the cube root of 27. So what number times by itself 3 times gives me 27? And if you remember, we just worked that one out as 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So the cube root of 27 is equal to 3. And then I need to still deal with this. Now what does the to the power 2 mean? Well, that just means I've now got to work with my answer that I've got at the moment 3, and I then need to square it. So squared means times by itself, which is of course 9. 3 times 3. So my final answer for that question is 9, because I've I've cube rooted it, and I've also squared it. On this next one then, this time, remember a half over 2 was the square root, so I need to square root 25. Now what number times by itself gives me 25? Well, that's 5. And then after I've done that, I need to cube my answer to the power 3. So it becomes then 5 to the power 3, which means 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. So my final answer for this one is 125, because I've square rooted it first and then I have cubed it. Final example then, looking at a fraction here, so how do we deal with that? The same as last time, we're going to do this part first. So we're going to cube root it first. And in order to do that, I need to find what number do I times by itself 3 times to give me 8. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, so that's 2. And then what number do I times by itself 3 times to give me 27? Well, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So the cube root of 27 is 3. And your answer is going to remain as a fraction. So I've dealt with the cube root, and now I need to do 2/3 to the power 2. Now remember, you've got to do this to the top and the bottom of a fraction, so I need to square both of these values. So 2 squared is 4, 2 times 2, and 3 squared is 9, 3 times 3. So my final answer for this question is 4/9.